Hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're joining us from. Let us know in the chat where you're coming from. Oh, if you have another Crowdcast window open, potentially, there may be an echo. No, are we good? May need to double check if I've done this so many times before where I've accidentally had another Crowdcast window open on another laptop. So you may need to mute. We're good? You guys hear us okay?
Would that be, it couldn't possibly be me, right? Because we were just.
You might need headphones.
I might need headphones.
I will temporarily mute you. Sorry, I know sometimes with the mic there's like a little bit of feedback. So welcome, come on in. You might know are you working on an online course right now? If so, let us know in the chat what you're working on and how long you've been using Notion. Yeah, sorry about the sound issue there. Hopefully we'll get that sorted out in a second. Can you still hear an echo? I've muted, Nicole should be muted and toggled video. Let us know. Cool, Chicago, Mumbai, India, London, Kentucky, amazing. Welcome. I suspect we'll have a lot more intermediate advanced folks today because I think online courses is a little bit more of an advanced use case. Okay, no more echo, cool. Yeah, just give us a moment to figure that out. I'm so excited to have Nicole today. I can give the spiel while Nicole is hopefully getting her headphones, fingers crossed. So Nicole is working with me on another client's project. So Nicole runs her company, Digital Made Simple. You can check that out in the information for the event if you want to check out her site. We also have a link to her Goal Miner course, which she's going to walk us through. Are we good? Okay, let's untoggle the mic here. I think we're good.
Are we good?
Yeah, no echo. I think we're good. No echo. We did it.
Woo! We are superstars.
Of course, it only did that when we went live, but anyway.
Exactly. We were talking for the longest time, and it was like, I got something for you.
Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Thanks for your patience. But yeah, so Nicole and I are working on a separate project together, and she just kind of casually mentioned that she had this course that she'd been working on that was in the back burner, but it was all done in Notion. And I was like, what? You just casually mentioned that? I need to see your course. Gave me a little bit of a sneak peek, and it was so organized and so amazing. And I was like, this is a use case I love talking about online courses. So I was like, no pressure, but would you be interested in showing up on office hours to show us what you've been doing? And I thought that might light a fire under Nicole's butt to get her course launched.
It absolutely did.
So Nicole, thank you so much for being with us today. Maybe you can give us a little bit of the lowdown of, maybe just tell us a little bit about your business too, and kind of how this idea for the course came about, and even maybe how you decided that Notion was the right tool for planning this.
Okay, so that's a actually very interesting story all the way around. And my business is branding, web design, and digital strategy. And that's where you and I met because you helped me get started like 6 years ago in launching my business full-time, independent of my past corporate career. And my past corporate career is not in web design. It's not in design at all. I'm a chemical engineer.
I did not know that.
I'm a chemical engineer, so there's that. And so that's what I brought to my design business, because I really felt like the processes and the systems and the continuous improvement that I learned in my operations background could really be brought to the design. Oh, I got some other engineers in the chat.
Welcome.
Exactly. Hey. And so it was a time where I was really struggling in my engineering career. It's a good old boys network. I was in Southeast Texas, struggling to have to prove myself. And it was a lot of things happening to me that were not my fault per se. But I had to look at myself and say, what could I do to contribute to a better life for myself going forward. And that's where I came up with this idea to just kind of map out my goals, like understand where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be in life, because it certainly wasn't there back in 2008 in Southeast Texas, working for a chemical company, right? It was someplace else where I could work on my passions. And I mapped this out and I continued to follow it for years over years and years. Back in 2018, I looked back at a old one that I had done, and I noticed that I had met or exceeded every single goal that I had put for myself. And by that time, I was owning my own business, left corporate America, living the dream, moved to North Carolina, didn't know
being on Oprah.
Oprah was before
We'll
that.
go there today, but
Oprah was before that, but was the impetus for it because I was struggling on Oprah. That's why I was on the show. So it was just one of those things where I needed to get my life together, and I was tired of recycling my goals. And so once I saw that years later, this system and this process really worked, I said, well, maybe I should package it up and sell it, because I feel like other people could use it. So that's the long and the short of the story.
Amazing. Love it. Lots of cool product ideas. I see lots of other engineers in the chat as well. Some pretty cool course ideas popping up. Oh, your course are, so it's cool to see what people are working on. So that's awesome. So you came up with the idea, you wanted to package it. What was the first next step in terms of mapping it out? Like, I guess, how long have you been working on this too? Because I know you've mentioned it was kind of on the back burner, and I know our own stuff kind of can tend to take the back seat while we're working on client stuff and whatnot. So what was the next step?
So the next step, I've seen a lot of people when they're talking about planning their e-courses to do a Post-it note exercise. But I'm a digital girl in this analog world, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Post-its fall off, then my whole course will be all mixed up. We're not going there. And so I started to kind of map it out on a whiteboard tool, which I'll show you. Now, the reason why it went into Notion is because several years ago, some lady named Marie Poulin decided she was going to adopt Notion. And I remember when you
keep talking about it over and over.
And I was like, no, what you're not going to do is tantalize me with another shiny object. I'm not going there. I'm in Asana, using it for free, pimping it out for all that it's worth. I'm not doing it. So I just kept, kind of.
You resisted for a while. Yeah.
I resisted for a long while. And then I started hearing more of you talk about it. And I'm like, what Marie talking about? Let me see. And so then I started getting into some of your webinars. And then I saw August Bradley. He started doing some stuff, and all of it started to just click. All of a sudden, like one of your videos, I think it was the para method, and something else that August Bradley just made it click. And so it was like really only a couple months ago that I really got into Notion, and I just cannonball right in. And I know you were like, take it slow. I was like, yeah, I'm sure, whatever.
Here we go.
We're putting it all in there.
Asana who? What?
Like, what? To slow? Well, we don't do slow. We go full speed ahead. And
That's
so,
awesome.
so I just kind of cannonballed in, and I started moving stuff into Notion and everything like that. So whenever you're ready, I can kind of show you like the process and everything.
Bring it
like
on. That. Yeah, let's bring it on. And again, if anyone has any questions, you can use the ask a question area below. I'll keep an eye on the chat if something does come up. But if there's something specific that you see while Nicole is doing her screen share and you want her to answer, just add it to the ask a question area below.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, Rachel says the Goal Miner course link isn't working. So if your OBM is here and she's got the link in the sidebar, I can update that link. Sorry if I hopefully didn't paste the wrong link.
All right. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Somebody said it worked for them. Interesting.
Works for me too. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, going on. Okay, that looks like the right
We'll
one.
continue.
Thank you, Mallory. So my OBM is in here. She's so awesome. So anyway, enough of the love fest. Here's what I did. I use Miro, which is kind of like a whiteboard type of tool. And I kind of mapped out, and the reason why I used Miro because I wanted it to be visual, because I'm a visual person, and I wanted to kind of be able to move the virtual Post-its around. So I kind of mapped out what the problem statement is, what I felt that the e-course's promise was, how they would feel before and after, and just map that out and brainstorm. And then I started to organize my thoughts around how I would divide my modules out, how I divide my lessons out, and kind of what were the main objectives and outlines that I would go into each one with. So that's basically what I did. Now, some may ask, well, then why didn't you just plan your whole course in Miro? But Miro doesn't give you like the rich content and development that Notion did. So that's why I kind of transitioned everything from here to Notion. And so here is my Notion course dashboard. And basically it's a page that has like all of my courses, all of the modules for my courses, and all the lessons associated with each module. Okay. And then as a matter of fact, when you go into a particular course, I actually, as I was developing it, embedded the Miro board right in the course.
Yeah.
And so then I started mapping out using, the modules up here to map out the course modules down here, and then start mapping out some of the lessons associated with those modules, right? And so what it also gave me the ability to do is when I go into each of my lessons, I have certain templates for, that particular lesson, the write-up that's going to go into that lesson on that page. Yes, you're like, give it to me.
I love it.
And the video script. And so I can map all that up. And even once I'm done with the video, I can link the link here. And then basically everything else was basically a copy paste into my website, which I'm hosting myself. Right. So it's basically, for example, this one is the goal definition. This is a free 8-lesson course. Of course it's free.
You undervaluing.
You've been working with me on this. But
I'll get there.
So basically, I basically copy and paste everything from Notion, including the YouTube link here, and then people can progress through the lessons and go through the next lessons. You can have quizzes in here. You can have little badges and gamification, which is why I decided to go with my own hosted LMS versus I know Notion can also do that. But, I'm a designer and I want stuff how I want it, and I don't want it to be designed by anyone else. So that's what I did.
That's awesome.
But basically that's the long and short of it.
Amazing. And I'm curious too, like I imagine that like this seems so organized, right? In terms of like the lessons, they're all numbered and everything. Is your assistant helping you with any of this stuff? Or is it like, hey, can you go upload the video that I made to lesson whatever, or having your assistant help you copy paste, or did you do most of the work for this?
I did all of this by myself, but I recently, thank the Lord, hired an OBM who's going to be helping me with that. She's in the chat, I believe. Yes, I saw her in the chat, Mallory. And it is just, that's also what's lighting a fire under my behind is Mallory and helping me to kind of, push me along and getting things done. But up until this point, because me and Mallory connected maybe like a week and a half ago, and started to onboarding. But up until this point, all of this was just 100% me. So, yeah.
We just had I noticed a question in there about how long it took to put this dashboard together. I mean, it looks like there's only three core databases here, right? You got your courses, your lessons, and your modules.
It was really quick because I learned from you and from August how to do lookups and relational databases. It was not very difficult at all. I just wanted things to be organized in a way that I wanted it. So one of the tips that I will say is like I've got 4 courses here, but if you're working on more than one course at a time, it's not like you can like click one of these courses and all of these will filter accordingly. So what I did was I created different views for each of the courses. So if I'm working on the Gold Miner e-course, then the Gold Miner table views are going to be up. But if I'm working on the Gold Definition one, then I'm going to switch it over to the Gold Definition table and the Gold Definition view. And it makes it very quick and easy for me to switch between courses if I happen to be working on more than one at a time. Now, I don't recommend you work on more than one
is hard enough
at a time, me personally, but you can, and I did set it up to do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a couple questions that popped up, which is great. Someone was asking about the progress column. It'd be cool to see how you did it in particular. I know there's like a few different ways you can do this, where you can manually do this in terms of your target complete versus actual, and then your progress is calculated. So I don't know if you want to show, maybe click on the field just to show the specific progress that you did.
Yeah, I have some hidden fields with actual numbers in them. So a progress number and basically a total. And I don't show them on the main table, but what I do is I manually change that number. I'll show you. So I'll say 50% here, just based on my sense of what it is. And once I say like 60%, it just automatically visually increases the progress. I could probably do this more sophisticated and then say like, you know, break down each of these outline items or certain things, but I'm like, life's hard enough.
Probably overkill for what you need. Yeah, exactly.
Life's hard enough. And yeah, we're just chilling. We're going to make this simple.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Digital made simple, right? It's baked into the.
Hey, that's the whole point.
Adrian was saying she got in late. Can students track their own progress? So Adrian, in Nicole's case, she built everything inside of Notion, but the actual final delivery and hosting is done on her website, which does have a beautiful little tracker there. And then we did have someone ask about the hosting inside of Notion, which that's actually going to be a whole different video, because I've been teasing this out a little bit, but MemberSpace and Super are doing an integration now. So now you can entirely inside of Notion, but manage the student access through MemberSpace. So that is coming, and it's going to be a pretty exciting use case. I have a couple clients that are testing this out right now. But again, if you want to, obviously these LMSs are more designed for this sort of, you know, progress tracking, a little bit more complex in terms of functionality, but it's totally doable for those of you that are like really, really familiar with Notion, that want to actually do the payment and kind of locking access directly inside of Notion. So there's all sorts of different ways you can do it. So stay tuned for some more videos.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety. And another thing that I liked about Notion is I could keep, you know, when you're developing content upgrades and PDFs and stuff like that, associated workbooks with your course, I could put them right here. As a designer, you know, you go through versions and versions, and what's the latest version? I could always keep and always go to the right one here and use that one to put on my website, and then make sure that that's the right one that people can download.
That's a great idea right there. I love the idea of connecting your lessons to specific content upgrades. And then I could even see if you're doing this already too, blog posts on your site or
Yes.
like a YouTube video that really directly lead into some of your lessons?
Yeah. So the benefits of SMART goals is one of the blog posts that leads into this content. Right on my homepage, there is the freebie. It looks just like a little freebie, but it's really the whole goal definition course, and you get a digital planner and stuff like that. So for those people who aren't familiar with Notion, you have other ways to get this content. But what I've also done is incorporated, in addition to like the August Bradley philosophy, the paraphilosophy, all the stuff, I created my own philosophy of how I'm delivering and doing my goals in Notion and using it as part of the alignment dashboard that I use. So I'm actually using my own course adapted to Notion to
The process works is what you're saying.
It works, and I got to work it,
That's awesome. Some great questions have popped in. If you want to go through some of them now.
Yes. Working from the bottom up, Julia, it is Lifter LMS. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Lifter LMS, you can basically use a full-fledged learning management system, membership portal, and everything like that, and course delivery, quizzes, gamification, basically for free using Lifter LMS, and it'll be a custom on your site. Now, it does have some premium add-ons if you want to make things much easier for yourself, like integrate with WooCommerce and stuff like that. But yeah, Lifter LMS is my go-to versus like Teachable or Kajabi and things like that, because again, I'm a custom girl. I want it to look out. I don't want to be in your box.
Yeah.
I want my box.
That's awesome. That's good to know, right? Is that there's so many different options depending on, like, one thing I love about doing it inside of Notion is that barrier to entry is so low. If you're already using Notion, you're not having to learn a new system. But I totally get, as a designer, wanting that control over the CSS and making it just look really, really tight. So you've got options depending on what your preference is, or even like what your technical capacity is, right? Adrian was asking, is Lift
Go ahead.
WordPress?
Yes, it's only for WordPress. It is a WordPress plugin. And they have certain themes that they, use, but a lot of people still use Elementor. And I personally use Divi for my website, builder. And it works great with Divi, and they have a lot of integrations with Divi to make it easier.
Awesome. A couple other questions that popped up was, if you edit in Notion in the Miro embed, does it change the original board?
Yes, if I change, well, I don't know. I typically haven't come across that. I just use it as a reference. And I don't think it allows me to actually edit in.
It kind of takes you to the original application.
Yeah. I could just go to the original. Yeah. Because I don't have like the sidebar, all I can do is just like move it around.
Right.
But yeah, if you open it up, you can go to the original, and then I can edit it, and then it would update here.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's
more like a reference point than like you're not actually embedding the app itself. Cool.
Yeah. Because when Tanya was like embedding it, it's just like, while I'm working down here on this, I just spouted it all from there to here, right, at my fingertips, and then built the rest out from the dashboard.
Awesome. And I know other folks mentioned a couple other tools too, like Whimsical embeds really nicely inside of Notion too. So, and mural.co, I think it is. So you have other options too. If there's other, mind mapping tools that you like that you can embed in there, or worst case scenario, even taking a screen cap and just embedding that JPEG in there just for that visual reference, right?
Yeah. And definitely that's another thing that I've done, because sometimes with Miro, if you wanted to hone in on a particular spot, or a frame within Miro, you don't always have control over that. So what I do is in Miro, I set the start view, I think here. Yeah, set the start view. And then that's pretty much guaranteed to be what shows up in Notion.
Ken was saying, why Miro over whimsical or mural? I imagine it's a personal preference or whatever you were already using.
Okay, so for whimsical, that answer is really easy because I've never heard of it.
Ah, there you go.
There's that. Mural, I used to use Mural, and I noticed that Miro just had a few more like integrations that I really liked that Mural didn't have, or certain templates that I really liked that Mural didn't have. They both have their pros and cons, and they're pretty equal to me, but I just felt like Miro had some more things that I wanted that Miro didn't. And saying Miro and Mural at the same time a whole bunch of times is a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Tongue twister. And I will say too, like when I was doing my course planning, I jumped more to like a board view inside of Notion too. So I was doing this kind of e-course outline, but I was just doing that right inside of Notion. So you don't necessarily need to do like an external service. Like you could even do this on paper, a mind map. Like it doesn't have to be complex. There's lots of other tools too. I think Adrian here in the chat also does consulting around this too. So feel free to chip in, Adrian, if you've got some tips on that too. But
Thank you.
Awesome. Another question that popped up was, Tanya was asking, how labor intensive is the process? So I know you said, I just popped in here, did my map, we're all good. But I mean, were you moving stuff around? Like how much of it evolved over time?
Oh, magic. And fairies came out and sprinkled dust and it was all done. No. To sit down and do kind of a brain dump, was maybe a several hour or maybe a day long type of process. But it's basically everything you need is in your head. You just need to get it out and say, okay, now how do I want to organize this? I had developed the planner. I had developed, some of the ideas, and I just needed to get it out. Now, once I got it out and put it in Miro, then moving things around and kind of creating the outline was a little bit, it was a little bit easier, but, it took some doing. Putting it in Notion, that was a couple hours worth of work because it was already kind of mapped out here. And I had it in Miro. I had a Miro embedded in Notion as a reference. And it was just like kind of how my brain thinks. What I do sometimes is like draw it out on a piece of paper. Like I want this to kind of look like this and this look like that. And then everything else listed out. And that's basically what I did. And I do have some other views, I think, of some of the other ones, like you were saying, these type of boards. But so much was work in process. I was like, I'm not going to look at this anymore. Everything is a work in process. Like, and I'm done with that. Let me just look at this little progress bar and not go crazy.
Cool. I know we had someone asking about how you were using roll-ups, if you are using roll-ups in your setup.
Yes, I am. Let me do GoMiner. Yeah. So what I do is based on the progress that is had in the lessons, it rolls up to an average progress on the actual module. And that's eventually going to roll up to the average progress over on the whole the whole course.
Amazing. Can you open up one of the course modules even just to see the properties and and the progress is rolling up? Yeah. It's pretty simple. So it doesn't have to have a ton of different fields.
No. And if there's a different, right now with Lifter, there's not a different landing page for the module itself. Everything is on one place, but each of the lessons have a different, page that they're delivered in. And so I can keep track of those URLs here as well.
And I just answered Hillary in the chat. I'm assuming this is your progress of creating the course, not for students going through the course, because students going through the course is all tracked through Lifter.
It's all tracked through Lifter. It's supposed to be a 28-day course to get the next 5 years of your life handled. So, and what I wanted it to be, and why I really wanted to organize it effectively, is because I didn't want it to be another vision board exercise. A lot of times I say, this is not your mama's vision board. Okay. That's
a great tagline for a course, by the way. Not your mama's vision board.
Not your mama's vision board. This is an execution system. It has daily habits. It has KPIs, and hearkening back to my engineering days. It has, how to make sure that you are really selecting the right goals for yourself, because a lot of people feel like they should make goals based on what everybody else is doing. And is that really the right fit for your life? And so, yeah, it's just like, I wanted to make sure that it was effective. And so when I go into these lessons, a lot of times in some of the write-up or something like that, I will base the write-up on what I want the intention of that lesson to be, and then go from there. And so like,
I love it. And I love how you have a desired outcome on each lesson level, right? Like,
each lesson has a desired outcome. What do I want them to come away with? Every single time you engage with this content. And then if you can do it, then you just don't have to recycle goals anymore. Like, I'm gonna lose weight. Like I said, I was gonna lose weight last year, and the last year, and the other year.
That's awesome. Tanya asked, how tech savvy does someone need to be? I know we've kind of touched upon this a little bit, but
the extent of tech savviness you have to have is the extent of getting a thought from your brain onto paper or onto this board. That's basically it. You're going to outline it. I mean, you don't even have to have the outline. You can just have the write-up, what you want to say. And if you do a video, you can do a video. I don't necessarily think you have to always have a video.
Yeah.
But you can do a video script if you want. Whatever it is you want to do, it's just a matter of getting it out of your head. And that can be overwhelming because you have a lot in your head. But once you start systematically plotting it and putting it out, I mean, I made this stuff up. It's not like a formula. It's not rocket science to me. It's just like, I want to tell them this stuff, and I want them to have this desired outcome. And then I want them to know this, and I want to do a video, and I want to say that stuff. That's the extent of tech savviness, and to the extent that you know how to use Notion.
Yeah. Again, progress roll-ups and things like that. There's lots of videos online that kind of show you how to do that. Maybe we can kind of link to some in the chat. I know, Danny, if you're here too, and you've got a link to one of the formula videos, but all of those are kind of bonus, I think. Like, you could absolutely do this by status. You can just have, like planning, in progress, needs video. A lot of this you could do in super simple, start with a board in Notion, just work with one of the pre-generated boards and just add a couple of those properties. And I think you could really make some headway and get started without having to be too techy.
Right. And then filter it for the course that you're looking at, which is also connected, roll up from the modules, right? Because that's not a relation. That was a roll up.
So you relate the lessons to the module, and then the module is associated with the course. So you're rolling up at the lesson level. You're rolling up the course name.
Exactly. And then you can filter this board view by the course, and then move things around as you need to.
In production, needs video. Yeah, and again, you can make up those properties for yourself. I know when I was first planning out my course, I actually had each module as a single select. So I was able to kind of see all the modules, and then each thing was a lesson below it.
Right.
So there's so many different ways you can do it, depending on how your brain works. But I think it doesn't have to be super crazy with all the relationships and roll-ups if you're not that comfortable yet. You can like start with where you're at. Right?
And keep in mind, I've only been using a Notion a couple of months. So this came out of, and the first month and a half, I was doing all this other stuff. So, I mean, it's been relatively quickly that I've been able to build out this course dashboard. And I think that's a tribute to the ease of use of Notion, not necessarily my tech savviness.
Right. Yeah, Adrian said that's impressive. And I'm sure Nicole and I are pretty, we've been doing web design and automation and systems for a long time. And so we're used to kind of, I think, picking up new tools, and the barrier to entry for us to learn a new tool is not super high. But I do still think there's lots you can do in Notion without even, again, like spend an afternoon exploring it. There's probably a couple key videos that can help some of that click. Like you said, the para video, there's tons. August Bradley. I know Danny sort of takes us to the next level with some of the formulas, but there's lots you can do by keeping it pretty simple.
In fact, I think with the formulas on the progress bar, I got maybe a link to a whole page of formulas for progress bars that August shared. And I just copied and pasted that and replaced the formula tags or the references to the one little progress number that I manually put in.
I think a big part of it too is there's that discomfort with being in progress. And I think you have to kind of give yourself a bit of permission to be a little messy when you're just learning how to use Notion. I think that's probably the hardest part for a lot of people. They're like, I wanted to do the thing and I'm not really sure. And it's a little messy before it gets clarity. And you kind of have to be willing to play a little bit, treat it like a bit of a sandbox.
And that's probably another reason why I used Miro to start with, because I could distill that messiness into a visually organized space, and then look at it and say, okay, this kind of looks like a Notion board, and this kind of looks like blah, blah, blah. Now, if Notion had the ability to sort boards based on like relational fields, which it does not, then that would have been even better. But the fact that I can at least see the progress as I work down this process was sufficient for me, and be able to sort by the course that I'm looking at.
Yeah, and as Ken said, Miro was your visual sandbox, and so I think again, there's no limit. I think it's like choosing the tech that's more comfortable for you, but having a space to brain dump, I think, is key. Making sure you understand the before and after of your course, like what promise, what is someone's starting state, and what is that transformation that you're taking them through, and then making sure that your modules all kind of deliver on that promise. So it's, again, that can be very, very low tech as long as you're getting that stuff out and you're really clear on that stuff.
Because you can literally use Post-its. You really can just have a Post-it up on the board and then start typing out the deeper content in Notion if you want.
Yeah. I love it. Are there any other parts of your Notion setup, whether it's like your own goal planning or things like that? Are there other parts that kind of, I don't know, have influenced you, or that you're open to sharing? Or not to put you on the spot. I know we didn't really talk about that.
So, like I said, I was using kind of the trying to move over.
I love seeing people's brains.
I know. The August Bradley thing. Let's see. Oops. I don't think I meant to do that. Let's see how to get that out of book.
Where is it? Oh, Beth asked, I missed the Miro part. Would you mind going over again how to move what you've put in Miro and getting it into Notion?
Oh, sure. Sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
I just need to figure out where I am in Miro at this point. Okay.
Look at that. Love it.
So I mapped out like kind of like my vaults guides and stuff like that August does, but I mapped it to my goal planning, right? And really fleshed this out as like goals, strategic outcomes. Those are some of the North Star. Those are terms that I developed in my goal planning, but it kind of maps similarly to August's pillars, pipelines, and vaults, right? So I just designed that out. And then I moved over here and kind of did my alignment dashboard to my North Star, my strategic outcomes. These are all, again, terms from my goal planning. And then what the core strategies are and the actual goals and how I've progressed on them. And
people are nerding out pretty hard in the chat, Nicole. I think people are pretty stoked about seeing your engineer brain and how nerdy and amazing this is.
Oh, really? Oh, y'all like this? Yeah. So it all kind of funnels up, and I do a habit tracker in here as well that I've developed to do the day-to-day habit tracking. I have KPIs here, and I do my KPIs very specifically based on like my engineering background, I think.
Yeah.
They have to have a formula, a target, what the units are, what mechanism I'm going to use, which should be Wave, and how often I will check them, what kind of KPI they are, what strategic goal they are associated with, and what goals are attached with them. And there's a whole, thing.
So when is your set of Notion templates coming out that reflect your KPI process? Because I feel like that would do very well.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Let me put that in my Miro.
Yeah. New course, new product. Curtis was saying the fact that someone can make a custom digital tool to do this in 3 months without programming is amazing. Like, it really is a testament, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing that I really liked about it, is because you're building a custom app for yourself that you can just use and configure exactly how you want it, and the information can surface wherever you want it because of all the different connections you can have. And I have not scratched the surface of what I could be doing in Notion and in other productivity tools that I use. But, so far,
3 months from now, like the more you use it, after 6 months, after a year, it's going to be so advanced and so tailored to your needs. But in the chat, we do have folks saying, yes, we want these templates. And so, Nicole, if you need any support getting some of these templates ready for prime time and moved on to Gumroad, like, I think you do very well with you.
Because I'm just learning how to use it to actually package up templates that people might want. That's next level.
No problem.
I'd appreciate any help.
And actually, tomorrow we've got a chat with Ben Issenman, who did the Notion Freelancer template. So I'm doing a live stream with him tomorrow morning as well. We're going to do a whole series on monetizing Notion. So if you're thinking about monetizing your templates, and anyone there else who's thinking about that, join the live stream. That'll be on my YouTube channel, and you can see the recording of that. But I love helping people make money with Notion. Like, monetizing your wisdom and your processes, right?
Yeah, Ken Tyler, shout out to him. I talked to him earlier this morning. He was like, "Oh, are you going to package those?" It had never occurred to me until he said that. It did not occur. I was like, I just hope they like what I say.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, again, like, you're showing, even in what you've been able to show with the limited time you've been in Notion, like, obviously you have a system and it's been working for you and it's very well thought out, and you've got a whole course that is based on your system. So I think course is one piece of it, but then being able to actually have other people replicate your system inside of Notion on the goal setting side of things is like, that could be an amazing companion to your course too, right? Yeah. Like, if you're already doing it in Notion, show other people how to do it in Notion too. So very meta, planning the course in Notion and then delivering course.
Well, I will say this in terms of the getting used to Notion in a very short period of time, it just occurred to me, one of the things that I did early on is I created this Notion planning list. Because like I said, I dove in like cannonball style. But what helped me is like I had all these thoughts and ideas, and it will get overwhelming quick. And I just started organizing it in like an outline. Okay, I just want to do a tags database, do a tech stack, blah, blah, blah. And as I checked off and created those things in Notion, then I checked them off here. And so for the most part,
so organized.
This was like the first page that I ever did in Notion.
That's amazing.
And that was organized, and it's not complete by any stretch of the imagination, but it worked and it got me going. And so this was so straightforward and simple and easy. And I just said, okay, let me just do this. Let me just do that. Let me just do that. Brain dump it. I think brain dumping is the key to any level of productivity, because as things are swirling around in your head, it's like a tornado and you feel like you can't attack any of it. But once you put it down on paper or digital paper, it becomes way more clear and you can like take little bites off of it.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. It's really good to see how people, like new people, are approaching Notion. I think that's a really great place to start, is the brain dump of, I often recommend for folks to tackle a specific project. So whether it's figuring out how you're going to track your tasks in Notion, just start with something small and then kind of layer your way in. I love this idea of just start with the brain dump. Yeah.
And even I put little symbols. Let me strike through this. But if it was, I don't know how to unstrike through something. Well, anyway, if it was a relational database, I will put a little arrow next to it, or a relational field. I will put the arrow next to it. If it was a number field, I'll put a number next to it. If it was a checkbox, I will put that on there. And I had different little symbols that I came up with to tell what type of field I wanted it to be. And then I just move forward with that in creating it.
A couple questions have popped in. Someone said that it makes me want to know how you do your quarterly planning. And then someone else was asking about what your, do you have a yearly roadmap for your course? That would be amazing to see. I'm sure this is where Nicole's like, yeah, you should buy my course. And then you can like see all of these.
Take a year, take 28 days. And you got 5 years taken care of, just like that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And the course comes out in mid-November, because as you can see, there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be done. But I'm chugging along, and I think it might be done sooner, but I still need time to launch and roadmap and everything like that. But yeah, now that I've got assistance and team behind me, I think this is going to go much faster. And a nice fire lit under my belly by Miss
Love it.
Who I refused to go into Notion for, because I was content pimping out Asana for all it was worth.
And now, now you understand what I was talking about.
Now I get what she was talking about. Now I'm completely in the cult. I've drank the Kool-Aid and now it's over.
Great question from Ken about how are you using Notion to prepare your marketing? So do you, how much of your marketing planning are you doing inside of Notion?
Yes, we have just started doing the content marketing. So I adapted the content machine. I mean, you can see it's the same graphics from August Bradley. And we're starting to dump information into here to move through the production pipeline and post on. My other VA takes the content from here and things like that and posts on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. You know, those are the challenging ones, because like Marie, you told me, make these videos 5 minutes and keep it moving. You can refine it later. And that's always a struggle with me, because as you can see, you might not have noticed, I talk a lot. I have a lot to say. And I use a lot of words to do that. do that. But the YouTube videos and editing those and stuff like that is a little bit more time consuming, but at least it's there and I can plan it. And if something in the pipeline, if the pipeline starts to dry up a little bit, then I know to produce and refine more content so that it's ready to put in the pipeline. But basically I use the exact same production content machine that August Bradley showed us.
Awesome. That's great.
So
It's
shout
great
out to
see how
August
you're-
Bradley. Shout out to Maria and August Bradley, because y'all are killing the game.
Need to bring in August for another session. I think we almost went 2 hours when we had him on office hours. That we had
I
a
know,
lot to
right?
say.
I'm not surprised.
We'll bring him back.
And on a daily basis, I use an adaptation of his action dashboard. This I do. I get in every day. I use the daily journal every day. And I didn't think I would. And I don't know if I got the part of the daily journal from you as well, Maureen. But
love my emoji drop downs. Yeah.
Yes. And so I use that as a day-to-day thing, and I kind of keep up with it. Now, here's my next goal. It is to, I just joined Weight Watchers. And so I'm going to try to figure out how to meal plan and meal prep. I was just watching your meal planning video just yesterday, and figure out how to incorporate points and stuff like that in there. And then develop a whole Notion space around meal planning, because with Weight Watchers and some of those tools, they tell you how to track your food as you eat it, but they don't tell you how to prepare ahead of time and forecast. I want to kind of do that and figure out ahead of time what I'm going to eat and what I'm going to do. Amazing.
I'd also be happy to share with you more updated. So that was the first YouTube video I made about Notion, just casually, didn't have any followers at the time. I was just like, here's how I'm doing my meal planning. And I think that was even before I was using relations with the groceries and things like that and ingredients. And so it's a lot more advanced now. I'm happy to share a copy of that with you. And I also did a deep dive on the meal planning stuff. So I found so many amazing ebooks. I'd be happy to shoot your way if it's helpful.
Yes, please. I am so into that right now.
That's awesome. Someone was asking about your is it possible to share the templates? I know it can take a lot of prep if there's already relations going on in your space. So that's why it's not always easy to just share your template with someone. It takes a lot of kind of scraping out data, duplicating, sometimes deleting those extra relations that get created. So it's a little bit of a process to get that ready. But I'm going to make sure that Nicole gets these ready.
Yeah. I mean, since there's interest, I can certainly put in the work to do that. I don't think it will be too difficult to duplicate some of these things and scrub it. I also noticed on the questions that they asked, what plan am I using? I'm on the free plan.
Incredible. This
is all happening on the free plan, people. I'm just saying, I was on the other plan, but once they gave us unlimited blocks on the free plan, I downgraded and they sent me my money back. And so, and once I start adding more to my team into it, I may have to upgrade to the base level plan. But right now, this is the free plan.
So I think it's probably pretty smart too, because once you go all in, you're like, this is amazing. And now my whole life is in here. It's becomes worth it to bring in that team member, even if you have to pay per team member. And it's still often way less expensive than a lot of and that sort of thing. So pretty incredible. Yeah, amazing. Someone was asking, we do these every Friday morning. We usually have a new guest every Friday morning touching on different use cases. So there was a really great question that popped up about formatting, and I don't know if you've had this happen, but when I try to paste different links into the text field area, it doesn't retain the source formatting. All of the links are pasted in sort of sentence form or that sort of thing. Or did you have any trouble when you were formatting content in Notion and then copying it into your Lifter LMS?
Absolutely, yes, that happened. So let's go back there. Here we go. So when I was copying like this GIF and all of this stuff and any sort of links to any other content or any relation, it copies a Notion link. So what I had to do is for those specific links, I would just have to go to the original and then copy the original thing. And so that was a little bit of a hiccup that I wished didn't happen. But, you know, if you click the original, you can find, you know, what the true link is or hit copy image address and stuff like that. And so I was able to do that relatively easily. But for someone who's not tech savvy, that's going to be a challenge because the links don't go over, even though they're written out on the Notion page that way, it was not translating well. And so I had to kind of piecemeal some of the links and the hyperlinks there.
Still some formatting stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why I just didn't move my course out of Notion. I just said, I'll just leave it in there and then they can access the stuff right in Notion. I don't have to worry about it.
And that's another thing about it is that it depends on what you start with. Because I've always had Lifter LMS, right? And so I would have to be transitioning into Notion if I was going to do that versus transitioning out. But yeah, to me, this amped up my productivity in delivering and creating the content for this course way more than if I was just doing it even in Asana. I just felt like I can see it more mapped out here.
That's awesome.
And that allowed me to progress on it. And then when I'm actually doing videos, I have this Notion video script right on my other screen. And so I'm just like, or writing on the main screen. And I can just look and just talk and blah, 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 and make it happen.
That's amazing. So you have this open kind of while you're recording your.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Absolutely. And it makes it clear what I'm trying to say and how I'm trying to say it and blah, blah, blah. Awesome. And shout out to my sister who is in the chat. Kelly Tucker Camper is an awesome person. And she is always motivation for me. So supportive.
Sisters.
Great. Wow. I love my sister. She's awesome. She's a wonderful mother and a help and a best friend. I always have a best friend.
I love my sister too.
Yeah, I awesome. You guys in video.
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really fun. Hopefully do some more. People seem to really enjoy that. Like guiding someone through who's never used Notion or is very, very new to Notion, helping them learn how to create those relations and everything. So if you're still kind of new to Notion and trying to figure out some of the relation pieces, you might want to check out that video on my YouTube channel where I was walking my sister through how to do that.
So let me ask you something, Maureen. Yeah. I know you use it with your clients and stuff like that. And I have not been sold on that yet. My OBM is trying to get me into ClickUp. And a lot of people are that. And I feel like ClickUp and Asana and those types of tools are easier for clients who are not tech savvy to jump in and, get acclimated and stuff like that, especially if they're not used to anything. Yeah. But I know that a lot of people manage their client communications and progress and stuff like that using Notion. How do you compare the two?
Yeah, so I haven't personally used ClickUp before. I used to use Asana for everything. And I would say most of my clients are very not technically savvy. So that is definitely my experience as well. Clients that are not, when I'm introducing them to Asana, that's like the first time they've ever used some kind of project management system as well. So I had to slowly, like show, don't tell. This is something that I often tell people that when I wanted to convince clients to get onto Notion, I needed to have a space that was ready and organized before bringing them in, to not overwhelm them, to not be like, hey, let's use another system you've never heard of.
Right.
So I got my clients' pages ready, and some of those pages are very, very simple. Like the titles of the page, very literal, that they could probably guess where to go to get what they need. So I did the work to kind of set up the projects, the tasks, imported things from Asana and organized it, and then walked them through. And it didn't take very long before those clients were setting up their own Notion accounts and then inviting me as a member, and we moved everything over into their space. So I would say it took maybe between 3 and 6 months of us just working regularly inside of my space. I think it was Allison that was saying, is it better, if I want to add clients to these pages, is it better to upgrade to the paid plans? Not necessarily. Like, you can invite guests into pages in your Notion space. So that's what I did. That project had a client hub inside of it, and I invited that client as a guest inside of that client hub. So we did that for months and months and months before the clients were comfortable enough and kind of understood how it worked. And it takes a couple video calls where you're kind of like, here's how you're adding a task, and adding lots of little instructions and things like that. So it's not for everyone, but my clients eventually got excited enough about it that they're like, oh, I could use it to manage my resource library and do this. And so a number of clients that were very not technically savvy are now selling Notion-based resource libraries using MemberSpace, which is super cool. And what a cool feeling to see those first dollars coming in, like for something that didn't even exist a year ago. I just think it's so cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you.
So I can, I know we talked a little bit about that too, like separately, you and I, about, some clients, it might be a bit of an intense kind of learning curve. It's not necessarily for everyone. So I do think you need to find a system that obviously the whole team can kind of feel comfortable with, and it won't always be the best solution for everyone. But I probably just badger my clients enough that they're like, fine, I'll use Notion.
So. Say so, Marie. Well, you just talk to me.
Fine. And it takes that moment, like you said, for it to click, right? There's that resistance, and then it clicks. And then just to see how excited that my client and her team got about it, that they're like, oh, we're all in now, we're sold. But it does take people a bit to kind of get to that point, because again, you have to kind of see what's possible with it, or to see how someone else is using it. Like, I think even folks here seeing your space, you're like, oh, wow, it gives you so many ideas of what's possible.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun. I think that's also the thing I get really excited about, is it feels like a creativity tool, not just a project management system.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of appeals to different types of people a little bit.
Someone asked about earlier if I could go back and show how I embed Mirror into the course. So actually, let me go back, because I clicked that so fast, so you don't know how I got there. But each of my courses are in this gallery view. And so I just clicked in there and opened it as a page. And basically there's a Miro embed with the starting page is like this thing here. And you can just zoom in and move it around. And then basically I have the course modules embedded below that. And I just use that to create each module and the lessons under it. And I had templates created for each of them, so that when I created each module or lesson, I just mapped out everything that way.
Awesome.
So for whoever missed that in the beginning, there that is.
I think it's related to a great question that Kyle was asking. He's like, maybe I missed this, but can you explain why you opted to build it, all of your courses into one dashboard, as opposed to building them on their own pages or dashboards?
Because I wanted to see the relation in real time at once, because that helps me to have a sense of progress. That's the wrong dashboard, but I want to see a sense of progress and how everything's rolling up. I mean, it's just a visual thing. I just wanted to see everything together. I wanted to see how the progress overall was being impacted by the progress I was making on each of the lessons, and then how that's impacting the overall course. It's just helping to motivate me.
I think related to that too, like there's a really great book called Making Work Visible. And it's this idea that when we have everything on like separate pages and separate links, and, you know, again, you can look at different people's Notion spaces, and some people prefer everything as these individual pages, but it's easy to kind of lose track of what's actually on your plate. So again, Nicole can look at this and be like, whoa, like that's a lot of lessons I got to record videos for. Maybe launching next week is not going to happen. Like, I think it kind of gives you a more realistic picture of what's on your plate.
Yes. And
it's not like you can't, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It's not like you can't just click on course lessons and just go to that page if you want to. Like you can always kind of zoom in, but having a dashboard can be so powerful for that bigger picture planning, right?
Yes. I was actually answering Ken's question in the chat around registration and everything like that. All of that's done on my WordPress page. So if I was not logged in, let's see, because I am logged in, I better have access to my course. Yeah, I get it. If I can't get in there. But basically, yeah. If you're not logged in, or if you're not enrolled in the course, it'll tell you. It'll say, you know, oh, you're not enrolled in the course. And below my name, it'll say enroll now. And then it'll take you to, you know, a payment processor to purchase, you know, access to the page. And so I just did my own little graphics in Canva, just so you know. Did my own little graphics in Canva for each of the lesson graphics. And these titles come from the desired outcomes. I just copied and pasted them over. And it's a thing. I made a thing.
That's awesome. Josephine asked a great question. Just how long will it take you to make the online course from start to end?
Can I refuse to answer a question?
Yes, you absolutely can refuse to answer that.
Because my results
10x
are
longer than you think.
My results are not typical. And they are probably not typical on the long end, because you also have to understand there is an emotional and mental barrier that I had to overcome. Am I good enough? There's so much gold stuff out there. What am I going to say? And so the amount of time it took me to get even here was inordinately long compared to someone who had sense.
Yeah, I actually don't think that's uncommon. Honestly, I see that all the time. People overthink it or they get freaked out. Yeah, exactly. That's so typical. I think a lot of people can relate to that. So I've seen people take 3 months to launch a course, 6 months. I've seen some people work on it for 2 years and chipping away. One of the things I typically recommend to people that are thinking about launching an online course is get your sales page ready first. Whether it's like a simple waiting list page, a sales page, you could pre-sell it just to see if there's anyone interested in it. And then you can build a little bit of revenue and runway before you kind of go all in. So I often recommend get a sales page out there, even if it's super, super simple with a sign up, a wait list, just get those names. Yes. Imposter syndrome is a huge, huge barrier of stuff. So.
It's huge, because remember, I've been independent for at least maybe like 5 years before deciding to do this. And so all of my site, everything I've been doing on my own, I just got help a couple weeks ago, literally.
Yeah.
You know, it's been years that from the time that I decided, you know what, I should package this up, to getting to a point where I'm actually planning it out and getting ready to deliver it.
I think if the imposter complex, mind gremlins didn't exist and you actually, you know, sat down and did it, you could probably do it in a couple weeks, or even like crash on a weekend and like record video. If you had everything ready to go, and you had your outline, you could do it. But it's that making space and time for it when you've got the paying work. Like, obviously it takes a little bit of time. And if you don't have that revenue up front, it can be the thing that's like, oh, well, it's not bringing in money, so I shouldn't really be working on it. So it can kind of get stretched out, right?
And the perfectionism.
Yes.
So we got perfectionism and imposter syndrome battling each other. Totally.
They're best friends. They're like, come on, Nicole, let's have a drink.
You ain't perfect. You are an imposter. Whatever. You're just not good enough. all the way around.
It's a real thing. Yeah.
The struggle is real out in these streets. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of that really hindered the progress, because these could be simpler. I could probably sit down in an afternoon and record all these videos, but it's just like, but I want to say all these things, and is it really going to come across, and blah, 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 blah. And then I got to edit that whole thing, and I got to edit all my,
and you got to watch yourself talking, and it's amazing.
Oh, like,
yeah.
is that what people hear when they hear me? Okay, Lord, thank you for my life, but ooh, this voice.
It's hard. Yeah. Ken was asking about like expanding upon the first page that I recommend to do. So it's, again, this is something that I used to do a lot before Notion kind of took over my life and business, but was helping people build MVP courses, like just ship a minimum viable course, get something out there. And so the first thing to do is to write a sales page for it. So that's basically describing the outcomes of your course, right? What is the course promise? Who is it for? How much does it cost? What are you going to cover? And the first couple of times I've launched courses, I was very honest about the fact that this is in beta, right? So it's like, hey, I'm even with Digital Strategy School, which is how I met Nicole. She signed up for my mentorship program years and years ago. I didn't have any of the content written. I had a loose outline. I knew things that I wanted to cover. I knew like proposals and Nicole didn't know that. She trusted me and she went all in, and it was a pre-sale, right?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you a little bit. Let me just do a little glow up on Marie Poulin up here. Marie was the person who really helped me launch my business. I'm transitioning from an engineer where I was not given a chance, where I was not given anything that I deserved. I was not given the recognition. I'm in a good old boys network, in a good old boys place at all the various places I live. And so when I decided to leave corporate America, Marie was the first place that I stopped. And it has been a winner ever since. Some of my first real paying clients came from the network that I had with Marie. And that gave me the impetus to do better and rise to the occasion of what they needed to do and hone my process and get and so a lot of the process has been in my head. And then when you get tools like Notion and different things that we use, I can put it on paper and then make a process. It's a whole thing. Marie, I tell you, I really appreciate your impact in my life. You have had a
you too.
impact in my life.
Thank you. I swear I didn't pay her to say that.
She's the truth. She's an ally. Awesome. There's a lot going on. And a friend of mine, and not to get too super political, there's a lot going on, particularly in America. And a lot of people are saying that Black people all have PTSD at this point with everything that's going on. Yeah. And when there's so much swirl, you need a safe space. And I'm using some of Notion to be my safe space because there's a lot that we have to deal with. And I just feel like when we have these types of tools and we have these types of ways to kind of process our thoughts, our lives, our feelings, and things like that, create goals, really track because I track my moods in my daily journal and things like that. It allows an outlet for me. And to the extent that, I am representing that aspect of it, that Notion can continue to represent that aspect of all the wonderful people of diverse backgrounds can go out there and really put their mark and use it in a way that really soothes them. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's just a whole life organizer, business, life, everything.
And I've talked about this a little bit, but I just think earning revenue through these digital tools, templates, courses. I think it's just such a great leveling the playing field. Like anyone can kind of make money out of thin air. If you have experience about something, if you know a little bit more than someone else, I just think it opens up so many opportunities to create wealth that out of things that didn't exist before. And so I love that about the tool, which is, I'm like, let's make you some money. Let's make you some money. Let's sell your thing. Like, you know,
and then you don't have to worry about CEOs of major banks talking about there's not a talent pool of diverse people to pick from, because now you can see that. Now you can see that there's that diverse pool out there, and we're making money, and we don't need you, Mr. CEO.
Yeah.
I'm a CEO. I'm a CEO just like you are.
Amazing. Love it.
That aside, it's a great tool for me.
So cool.
Should I still be sharing my screen?
It's up to you. I mean, yeah, we don't have to.
If somebody sees something that they want to see, I'll leave it up.
And I love talking about this stuff too, like the mindset piece behind stuff, because I think it can be so easy to share the tactics and whatnot. But yeah, if people are curious and they want to know more about some of the mindset stuff and what else is happening, I'm always happy to share this stuff if it's interesting to people. So I'm always happy to stay a little bit longer and chat about that stuff if people want to know more about that.
Perfect.
Yeah, let us know if anyone has any more questions about this stuff, whether it's course specific stuff, if it's like getting over that imposter complex side of things to kind of ship your course. I know it's so much more a mental game than anything else, I think.
It is. One more thing I'll say about that is a lot of time when you are overwhelmed with all of the stuff you have to do, it makes you feel like something's deficient with you. Once I started to decide that I need a team, and I actually was onboarding Mallory, it was like, she's like, you're doing all this by yourself? Like, oh, don't do that. Don't feel like because you're overwhelmed, that means that you are deficient in some way. Really, you should not. No reasonable person would be able to handle all of this without the right tools and team to carry it over the finish line. And so that was a big light bulb moment for me in the recent weeks that, I need a team.
Great question from Mark. Nicole, if you were starting again from zero, what would you do differently?
If I were starting what again from zero, the course or life?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good, let me know, Mark, if you want to clarify if it's more like how she approached the course stuff or if it's decisions that she would have made differently, maybe in the transition from corporate to CEO.
If it's about the course.
The course.
I can't think of it. This really just unfolded the way that I really want.
And team building.
Okay.
Would you have hired sooner, knowing what you know now?
Hired sooner.
Yes.
I would have hired sooner.
Same.
And I would have recognized how much of a control freak that I am, and dealt with that and started to let that go sooner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Part of it, it's funny. You're going to be have imposter syndrome and then be a control freak too. Like, I don't want to let go, but I don't do this right.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Humans are not logical.
No, we're not. So I would have definitely built a team sooner, gave myself permission to build a team sooner, because part of it is like when you clean your house before the cleaning lady comes, I didn't feel like, I don't want anybody to come in here and see this.
Yeah.
But that team can help you clean the house. And that's what, I needed to do. But yeah, I would have started building a team earlier. And then when it's almost like the book Who Moved My Cheese, but absolutely nothing about the book Who Moved My Cheese, but it is about cheese. It's like you have a block of cheese. It's actually easier to deal with than if you have a block of Swiss cheese. Like I have a really big block of Swiss cheese that looks great on the outside, but there's a bunch of holes in the inside. And I don't know if it's easier for someone from the outside to come in and help with versus if they just had, you know, cheese that they can cut the way that it should be in the first place. So yeah.
So funny.
I found my
great question.
IM from a post. I made a job page on my site and posted it on social media and things like that, and people applied. My VA I got as a referral from Marie.
Oh, amazing. That worked out. Awesome. I feel super lucky too with my assistant. She lives here on the Sunshine Coast and she's amazing too. And similar to Nicole, it was that like, letting go, like, could I possibly have someone help with this? Like, it's very uncomfortable in the beginning. And I think if you find the right fit and it really clicks, you can trust more, let go more. And then they're able to, it's not just 2xing your output, you're 10xing your output. I think
right.
Like just what you're able to do just with that one extra person, even if it's an assistant, virtual assistant, something small, you're going to make so much more progress. Yeah. All of our cheeses have holes, Natasha says.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Swiss cheese because at the first glance, you're like, oh, you're doing it. And then you look in like, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Amazing.
Aww.
Actually, I love how like some of these questions and conversations have veered because it's all connected, right? Again, like when you're launching online courses have a whole life of their own, right? And so sometimes they can really influence and shape the whole kind of direction of your business. Like you might decide, oh, actually, I really like teaching more so than I'm liking. So you might kind of shift how much work you're doing in one area of your business, right?
That's absolutely true. In fact, that's what's happening with me right now.
Amazing.
Depending on, well, not even depending, I know this is going to work because God's plan. And so once it does, I know that I'm going to be more inclined to do more online virtual content and stop trading my time for money, and so it's just going to be a natural progression. It's just a matter of seeing it unfold.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So please sign up for the Gold Miner e-course. Please
link is below.
Free content on my homepage. I'll put my homepage on there, and there's a freebie right below the hero. It's a whole course that you can take for free just to define your goals, and that'll be a nice, precursor to going through the whole course itself. I would love to get your feedback on it. And if it's helpful and if it really does feel like Not Your Mama's vision board.
I love that, Not Your Mama's vision board. I love that. Mark was asking a question about books or blogs you'd recommend for newbies trying to understand this emerging space. I've talked about her before, but Mariah Cause has been a huge influence on myself as well in terms of like money mindset and really thinking of your course as an ecosystem. I love her stuff. She does like her paid courses are a bit more premium, but she gives away so much content for free. Her podcast, YouTube videos. I've learned so much from Mariah, and that's my recommendation. But Nicole, I don't know if you have people that have sort of influenced your perspective on this as well.
Yes, I do from a podcast and listening standpoint with Jenna Kutcher, but Deep Work was a big influence of mine. And there's some other books. My Story Brand guy.
Donald Miller.
Yeah, Donald Miller.
Yeah, Donald Miller's a good building a story brand book. That would be a good one to check out, Mark. Yeah,
absolutely. It really helped adjust my perspective on how I communicate my brand and what I'm doing, and really putting myself in the advisor seat versus the hero seat, and showing kind of how I can be the Yoda for
I love that. Yeah.
Michael Hayes. Is it Hayes?
Yes. I think I know who you're Hyatt. Michael Hyatt?
Hyatt.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, full focus planner.
Michael
And a
Hyatt.
full
Yeah.
focus thing. Michael Hyatt. He was a big influence because, and as you notice, a lot of the stuff is about that I'm saying really helped. Aside from what I said earlier about the digital strategy school and how that gave me a foundation, is around the mental health, is around the perspective and understanding how to be productive and things like that. And I was trying to show I thought I had a resource database. Maybe I should see here. But I had a resource database that I thought was more filled out, but I can't really find it or find that person because I know I had deep work in there. Oh wait, here it is. I just had it filtered. Yeah, I've got books, health, design resources, Inspire is another book that I liked. And all of those things I kind of keep, like the full focus planner, all of that stuff. I do keep that in Notion as well.
Yeah.
And so I could just separate it all out and stuff like that.
Natasha was asking, can someone jump the working for hours and go straight to selling knowledge only?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I think it's a process. Like I do think if you're used to doing services, it can be a little bit of a jump. Obviously, it's a different. You rely on volume a bit more, I think, when you're shifting to products, right? So you need more people to be able to find out about your stuff, which usually means a little bit more marketing effort, right? And I think that can mean, again, YouTube, it can be LinkedIn, it can be Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. You have to kind of pick your channels and kind of double down on something. Like for me, that was Notion Notion videos on YouTube. And that was kind of a surprising channel, but it's not surprising now. But back then it was like, oh, let's just make some videos and share. And that became my primary channel for getting people knowing about me. So as long as you have some kind of channel where people learn about you, find out about you, kind of get, be aware of your stuff, I think you can make that shift. But I think it does depend how big your current audience is as well, and how actively you are marketing your stuff and creating great content and outreach exactly. So I don't know if you have anything to add on that side of things in terms of like that shift to services to products.
You know, I will also say something a little bit different. In this age of TikTok and virality, so many people came out of the woodwork and became thought leaders on stuff relatively quickly. And it's amazing. So it's hard for me to say that you really have to have that understanding established fully, because so many people are killing the game. Yeah. And they just stumbled into a TikTok that went viral or stumbled into a YouTube. For example, the same thing like you with Notion is with me with Dubsado. Dubsado is a client relationship management tool. I did like one video called Pimp Your Dubsado Portal, which other people have done. But for whatever reason, mine ticked, and all of a sudden I have a whole nother income stream around Dubsado and setting
There's your next course, right? Yeah,
exactly. Well, there's already a course. There you go. I just have to put it in the course format, but I already have that. And I'm selling like Canva kits for Dubsado. Like sometimes you don't know your stuff, and then
it emerges, right?
Yeah.
A bit of creativity, a bit of kind of keeping an open mind, listening to what people are asking for, noticing where there's traction. It takes a little bit of risk taking and creativity, but it feels just like the opportunities are sort of ripe for the taking if you're willing to be a little brave.
That's the key, that part, that courage to just say, you know what, I'm excited about this. Let me just put a video out there about it, and then let's see what happens. And then that turned into maybe 2 or 3 more videos. And then all of a sudden, I'm a go-to person for this topic.
Yes.
Yeah, Joanne, Dubsado is interesting. It's good. I like it. It's one of those things that has a cult following like Notion does. You know, it has its pros and cons, and I talk about them in some of my videos. But yes, it's something I did not expect.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with Notion, I had no idea things would take off the way they did. I think I just did a webinar for fun. You know, it was a very rough around the edges webinar. I didn't have a plan. I'm like, let me share Notion with you. And I didn't know how much. Yeah, it's like your own excitement. Like, what are you enthused and passionate about? And again, what do you know something about that you can? I think sometimes when we get so good at something, we forget what it was like to not be good at that thing, right? That the expert's curse of the expert, right? So we forget that we don't even have to be the foremost expert. We just need to be a few steps ahead of someone and have something that we can show people a few steps behind us, right? There's lots of opportunities out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be cool, Nicole, to maybe do like a follow-up live stream with you, maybe after you've launched the course. And again, even like 3-6 months later, just kind of see lessons learned, right? Like we could unpack some of the stuff that we learned and what marketing channels really worked and how the launch went and any of that stuff. It'd be cool to, because I know there's like still more questions popping up. I'm like, oh, we need another session.
Yes, and people do have workbooks. I haven't put any quizzes in the course, but they do get certificates of a completion. They get badges as they complete each lesson and things like that. And so I could probably gamify it even more, but right now I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Ken said that would be brilliant. So yeah, if people want to see more Nicole, we can do another follow-up session. We could either do it on my channel or on another office hours here.
I'm just glad this thing wasn't 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, here's my first, everybody don't care. Okay, bye.
No, I think there's so much wisdom in all of the other pieces too outside of the tech. Like what is really happening behind the scenes and what were those real challenges of getting your content shipped? And I think that's the honest stuff that people really want to know. So maybe if we did a live stream together, we could even be a little bit more casual about it and just share some of those and lessons learned in the course development process too. So I'd be super happy to do that if you're game. Yeah.
I'm game.
Amazing. And yeah, I know there's again more questions that kind of popped up that we didn't totally get to, but we'll I think we should do this again, maybe after your launch. So again, check out Nicole's Gold Miner course. At the very least, sign up for her free stuff. Loved what you showed us today, Nicole. Really appreciated it. And thanks everyone for all of your excitement in the chat as well. Case study, it could be, it would be a really great, even case study of, again, courses inside of Notion. This is a use case I'm super excited about. Again, tomorrow there's a live stream on my channel with Ben, who's going to show how he's monetizing his freelancer templates in Notion. I just love the possibilities that it opens up. So I'm going to be doing way more videos around specifically courses in Notion and hosting courses in Notion, again, using MemberSpace and Super. So stay tuned. And yeah, again, check out Digital Made Simple. Nicole, thank you so much for sharing everything, sharing your process.
And thank you everyone for all your questions and your engagement, because that made it better. Since I'm wearing headphones, I don't know if I was super loud, which I think I probably was.
No, you were great.
But yeah, thank you guys for hanging in there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Nicole.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.